Hey, there he is.
How are you, man?
How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Walk right in.
Super.
All right, well, Mark, thank you once again for coming in and joining us. I really appreciate it. I know when we first started speaking, you were already working full-time as a locum tenens, but what kind of made you, take this route, and how did you kind of get into locum tenens?
I just decided, I have my education in anesthesia. I also have my education in healthcare administration and management. I have run a business before in the past, and I just thought, this is something that I want to try, and I don't want to sit there one day and say, I wish I would have. So I just did a lot of research. I talked to the right people, started shopping around, and I just did it.
It's kind of
nothing fancy. I did it.
What would you say is kind of your favorite part of working as a locum tenens, or kind of the big thing?
I think the main thing, actually there's a couple things. One, I get variety. If I'm working with one client, I'm not there all the time. And the places that I work at, they're all wonderful clients. But I have the variety. I can bounce around. I don't get stale. Things don't get stagnant. I meet new people. I learn new ways of doing it. So just the eye-opening experience is really, really good. The other thing that I enjoy the most is I am in control. Case in point, a couple years ago, I went for a cycling vacation over in Spain, and there was a couple that was over there. She owns her own hair salon, and he is an attorney. They're both self-employed. I had to submit, I think it was in like September of the previous year, to get 10 days off in the end of April. They were over there, they made the decision a month and a half prior to that, and they were over there for 7 weeks and kind of doing some of their work from a laptop, things like that. So I'm like, this is kind of a good thing, and being able to run your own show, make your own decisions. I'm kind of getting to the point where it's about my free time. I think that's the name of the game with working as a locum contractor is somebody calls you up and you have that option to say, yes, I'm available, or no, I'm sorry, I'm not available, but I am available these days, and kind of give them some additional options.
So what do you kind of look for, or what kind of determines why you work with one agency versus another?
I think when you're working with an agency, it depends. Like you and I, it clicked. Mm-hmm. It's not always going to click. Okay, and so I think it's important to get in there with a recruiter, somebody that has the resources, somebody that you kind of are on the same page with, somebody that you pick up the phone on a Saturday morning and you leave a message and you get that phone call returned. You can call on a weeknight, or you want to juggle something, or you have some ideas. Somebody you can call and brainstorm. I think what's really important is getting a person in your position and in my position. Let's merge them, because it works out for the client, it works out for the agency, it works out for the contractor.
It's a win all around, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And when you can do it perfectly like that, then it makes everything easier. It makes life easier too. We talk about it all the time. Even this morning we discussed it too. Our long-term plan, in the sense of what we want to do with multiple clients, and not burning out, where we go for 4 months, we're out. It's kind of what you call the red phone guy phenomenon. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, it's something that I heard on some podcast. I can't remember exactly who it was, but I think the guy was like a corporate troubleshooter. And I think he had a law background and a business background, and the term stuck with me. He's that red phone guy that you can call, and he's like Mr. Fix-It. He can come in there and get things resolved, or if you need to pull the plug, he can soften the blow. Absolutely. So I like the term. I thought it's kind of catchy.
Yeah.
So I've always used that a lot.
Yeah, I think it's kind of speaks to our point we talk about with the credentialing issue. So, we essentially will be able to have multiple CRNAs credentialed in various locations that we work with. So you're almost creating a team of red phone guys is kind of what
Sure.
I think we've been getting at as well, right?
Right, and it's a tough sell to a lot of facilities and everything. It's something unique. The standard, traditional, the way we've always done it model is let's spend 3 to 4 months credentialing a provider, and then we're going to bring them in for, say, a 90, 120 day contract, and then that's it. I don't see that as a good return on investments. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of time on the phone, sending emails, computer time, etc.
Right.
And to only get 90 days out of that, I don't think it's a good return. But I think if we can take the landscape, another term that I use, of the locum tenens offerings to facilities and clients that need somebody, and then let's make this an ongoing thing. Let's look beyond that 90, 120 day window for the medical field. And now I'm somebody that I can be on board there for 2 years, 3 years. Even when I was working full time and I first started this, just kind of on the periphery.
Right.
I've been with one client for over 3 years.
Yeah.
I think changing the market focus to where you have somebody that is committed, vested in in a long-term relationship, then you always have somebody you can go to instead of trying to scrape somebody up.
I'm sure throughout your time, have you had any kind of crazy experiences or anything that kind of stands out to you?
I can't say that I've really had anything crazy that stood out other than like the Barton credentialer, Brianna in Arizona. I was amazed how fast we were able to get things done because we had a short notice emergency credentialing situation where our client in Vermont there needed somebody like 3 days ago, and she was able to handle it at lightning speed. I've never seen that, so kudos to her.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's like we go back to when you talk about the resources, when you look at agencies too. Obviously, Barton, we're pretty big, so we have a lot of those type of resources too. So obviously, when I first started working with you, it was with another agency as well, but what kind of has Barton done that, kind of stands out, or at least you look for?
I think it was kind of a surprise that one day I'm at home and I had some time off and I get this call and it's like, hey, I'm Taylor Barton with Barton Associates and everything, and I was kind of like, okay, well, let's roll with this and everything, and we just started chatting. I think what stands out, Barton with my other agency, both are fantastic.
Right.
I have great working relationships. I think the standout is you're closer to me than my other agency. So I didn't know it. I wish I knew it earlier, but you're just 35 minutes away.
Yeah.
I don't have that luxury with the other agency. Not that it's a bad thing.
No, of course.
Because communication's always there. And then I pulled up and I walked in this building. I see Barton Associates on the door and everything. I walked in the door and I'm just like, wow. And everything. So I guess it's kind of some ignorance on my part. I didn't know really how big you guys actually are. And I can probably say with good certainty that the other client is not on this scale. So it's, again, I think when you work with big organizations, you can get, you have those resources coast to coast. So
Awesome.
I think that was probably the biggest eye opener for me, and probably the proximity, that would be the big difference.
And of course, you're now more tenured as a locum tenens CRNA, but obviously some of it's trial by fire, some of it, like you say, you've done a bunch of research, kind of got your feet wet when you first started. What kind of advice would you have for new CRNAs who are looking into this field, or maybe even more of the semi-retired population?
Yeah, Great question, because a lot of people ask me that, and I've been asked so many times. I'm half tempted to just refer them to Barton and say, why don't you talk to my guy here and everything, and see if it's something that they want to explore. Once you kind of get 3-4 years under your belt, my advice would be contact Barton and everything and see if they have some sort of like a weekend deal, 1 weekend a month, and start transitioning it. That would be for the first cohort. The second one, those that have say 5-6 years under your belt, and maybe 15-20 years. The world's your oyster. Mm-hmm. Get in with a recruiter that you click with. Figure out what it is you want to do, where you want to go, what places would be acceptable for you to work, what practice models. If you want to work in a medically directed environment, that's fine. If you want to work in an autonomous environment, that's fine too. You now have those choices. Get a good accountant. Get in with a good credentialer, get a good laptop, because the amount of paperwork that you're going to have to keep sorted out is crazy. But it can be done, it's not impossible. And then just, scratch that itch. Yeah. For the person that's on their tail end, again, you've got the experience in that, and it's kind of like, it's a nice combination of travel work. Keep in mind that each state, there's always the credentialing, there's the licensure and everything. And you obviously have, 20 years plus, you have the clinical experience. There's no doubt about it. Again, just realize that you got to hustle a little bit, but this would be a nice way to kind of like slide out of the profession and everything. I think the most important thing when you're information building is to first talk to somebody who's an experienced locum provider, and talk to somebody who's new with locums. There's a lot of social media groups out there. They are closed sites, so it's not something that can be shared out there. But if you're a nurse anesthetist, you know where to go. Oh, yeah. And get the information from these people. Attend some conferences. Learn business, not just medical business, but business, everything. Learn accounting. Merge that with your clinical skills. That would be my advice.
Absolutely. Well, especially too, you coming from both, you have the healthcare administration background and obviously as a CRNA, so you kind of get the best of both worlds.
Right.
And I know a lot of locums too, they like to create their own LLC for tax purposes too. It's essentially you're creating your own business.
Yes.
So this is your business as well.
Yes.
So I think that is something too that is almost overlooked when they first start too. But as far as you too, what's kind of on the horizon, like 5-year, 10-year plan? What are we thinking?
If this keeps working out the way it is, like it's been with Barton, which has been a great experience, I'm just going to keep doing this and everything. My goal is to continue working, as long as my marbles are still all there, and I'm a safe practitioner, but I may turn that down a little bit, and then, as I explained with the 3 cohorts, as I kind of start sliding out of the profession, incorporate it with travel.
Yeah. Exactly. I know that's one of like the biggest factors, as well as flexibility of schedule. You get to travel too.
Sure.
But I want to thank you once again too. This has been amazing. Getting a chance to come in and hear it right from you as well.
Absolutely.